Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Community Focus here on Channel 6 TV. Glad you could join us tonight. I'm Kenny Fogel, your host, and hope we'll have an interesting edition tonight for you, and hopefully you'll enjoy what we've got to offer. We got Mr. Randy Walker here. Randy, he's the chief of the Bardstown Bardstown Fire Department. Let's get the departments right here.
Yes,
Randy, first of all, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to stop in here.
Appreciate the invitation.
Well, Chief, before we get started, I wanted to find out exactly who is Randy Walker.
Well, I'll try to keep that short. I grew up, spent the first 40 years of my life in Kentucky. I'm originally from eastern Kentucky, a little town called Louisa near Ashland, right on the West Virginia border.
Many times. And
started out as a volunteer firefighter when I was 16 years of age. And as I became 18, I became on the regular fire department, and it always had become a passion. And anytime you can go into a career field with it, you enjoy what you do. It doesn't seem like work. So I was able to go to school at East Kentucky University. They have a fire science program. I left Eastern and was hired by the city of Ashland as a career full-time firefighter. And left there. I was the fire chief for the city of Moorhead, which is the home of Moorhead State University.
Right.
And left there, went to work for the state fire marshal's office. Ended up, then I started doing a little bit of travel, ended up in Tennessee, teaching at the State Fire Academy, which is just outside Murfreesboro. Then I went further south into Georgia. I was fire chief of a department there, two departments actually. Went a little further south into Florida.
Jeez.
And I was chief of a little department in Palm Beach County. And I still have family in eastern Kentucky, and in particularly my mother, and she's getting up in years. And when the opportunity arose, I've been to Bardstown many times, mostly as a tourist.
Yeah.
But I think everybody that comes to Bardstown immediately falls in love with the city, as did I. And so when they had an opening for fire chief, it was an opportunity for me to be able to come home and just be able to serve just a wonderful community. So I'm excited to be here.
Okay, well, I'm going to do just a little bit of amateur psychology here.
Okay, absolutely.
16 years old, and at some point at 16 years old, you decided this is something I like. I was 16 years old. I was into different things.
Right.
What attracted you to the fire business?
To be perfectly honest, it was actually more of a whim. I rode the school bus every day. And one of the bus stops was right in front of the fire station. And one of my best friends and I were sitting on the school bus seat, and he said, I think I'm going to go down and join the fire department. Won't you come with me? And I said, okay.
Well, I always sort of wonder about people that run into burning buildings. You know, I mean, there's bad things happening in there. There's nothing good going on in a burning building, but you got some fascination to want to go in there.
Well, once I walked in the firehouse for the first time, the guys were very welcoming, and a big part of any fire department, whether it's paid or volunteer, one of the things I always stressed is the fire doesn't know the difference. So the training really has to be the same. So I was enveloped in a lot of the training programs, and I realized just how significant safety training is a part of our training. So that, yes, when we go into a very hazardous situation, we do it with the least amount of risk as possible. There's always a risk involved, unfortunately. Just as a police officer, when he stops that car, he doesn't know what's in that car specifically.
Right.
We don't know when we're going inside a burning building, what could be inside. Nowadays, it could be a meth lab or any various activities that we're unaware of until we go inside. So it is a very hazardous occupation, but we stress and train to do it as safely as possible.
Well, training obviously is an extremely valuable tool for being a firefighter, but I'm sure it's changed considerably since you first got into it. I mean, I've been involved with a couple fires in my life and never had any training, so I know how panic can set in. I know because I've been in situations where I say, I don't know that this is how people survive, but they do.
Yes, and for us, in addition to training ourselves, obviously we try to focus on public fire education. As you mentioned, technology has gotten so much better over the years since I've started. And for home fire safety, now a smoke alarm, a smoke detector, is relatively inexpensive. Probably for around $10, you can go to any hardware type store, and they're easily installed. The new ones now have a 10-year lithium battery. Once again, technology has made the battery life so much better. And it is the absolute best early warning device that anyone can have, so that they can exit the structure safely, call 911, get us coming, and let us do what we're trying to do once we get there.
Okay, well, again, there's a lot of things with home safety as far as the alarm system. I mean, fire extinguishers. I had a fire a couple years ago, and thank goodness we had a fire extinguisher available. It was a lifesaver.
Absolutely.
But what is it if you were going to train say just a class of teenagers or something? Do you structure it to a certain level, or is basically the training the same for everybody?
We try to keep it the same for everybody. Obviously, a high school student is more mobile than a senior citizen, for example. So there are certain times, usually in a single family home, we stress get out of the building, just get out, get low and crawl under the smoke and things of that nature. If it's a nursing home, assisted living facility, something like that, sometimes we'll even have them what we call shelter in place, where they'll keep the door shut. That's a good barrier from smoke and fire. Luckily, the city of Bardstown has a full-time fire department that we have a crew there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, ready to respond, which enhances our time. And that's the one thing that we can't change, is the time factor. A fire will grow exponentially over a period of time. And so the more we can reduce that response time, the better it's going to be for the average citizen out there.
Well, tell me, what's the Bardstown Fire Department look like as far as full-time people, volunteers, equipment? Well, what does it look like right now?
Right now, we have 2 fire engines and a ladder truck, and then we have a tanker and also a little rescue combination brush fire unit. We always have a minimum of 4 people on duty around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have a good cadre of volunteer firefighters. Some are very experienced, have been serving the city for years. I'm very excited. We have a class of brand new recruit firefighters. We have 12, and they're taking we won't let them respond or fight fire until they have a certain level of training. But we're very excited to add that number to our volunteer roster. During the daytime, we have additional career staff, myself and other. We have a fire inspector or fire marshal position, so forth. So we have, usually in a volunteer ranks, daytime's a little weaker because guys are working. And so having the additional staff there in the daytime helps out. And then in the evenings, it's not uncommon for us to have all the last house fire that we had between volunteers and off-duty firefighters. We had both fire engines, the ladder truck, everything there at the fire scene, so we could do what we needed to do.
Well, I know you talked earlier about training, and one of the things I know is different nowadays than used to be is a lot of times you're the first on the scene, even before the police and EMS get there, and sometimes you have to perform some of those duties.
Absolutely, and that's probably one of the best things I think the fire department has implemented back in October. All our firefighters are not only trained as firefighters, but we train them to be emergency medical technicians as well. So the ambulance service has, we work in conjunction with them, and a lot of times because of where our fire station is located, we get there very quickly. We've even had some people, they don't understand why our fire truck's coming. If a kid has fell and twisted their knee, for example, playing basketball, why is the fire truck here? Well, we go on every medical assistance call in the city. We've had a great deal of success with not only life-saving skills, but if nothing else, I tell the guys, if that were my mother, and if you can just get there and comfort her until the ambulance gets there, it's worth our time.
Hey, if I have an accident, I don't care who shows up. If you got a big truck with a light on, you're welcome.
Come on in, exactly. So the guys have been very well trained, and they're very excited about being able to serve the community in multiple facets, in addition to the fire suppression efforts, but also to help people with medical emergencies as well.
All right, well, you've been to Bardstown long enough to determine if this is someplace you like to be? Or?
Oh, I love being here. I hope to spend the rest of my career here. We have, I think, Bardstown, I just read in the local paper that it was not only is it the most beautiful city, but it's also been touted as a very good place for business to locate. And I see a lot of growth for the city and Nelson County. And along with that, obviously the fire department will have to grow. We're looking at trying to expand and have another fire station location so that we can increase our response times. We're looking at buying some newer fire apparatus. The trucks we have are starting to get a little age on them. So with age comes mechanical issues, and we want to make sure that we have some of the best equipment we can have.
As you mentioned, growth, and we are growing considerably. Bardstown doesn't look anything like it did probably when you were visiting here many years ago when I was growing up here. So the fire department has to grow along with it.
You're exactly right.
So you can't keep you can't keep a 1950s fire department in a 2020 world.
I remark we still have one of the original hand pull carts that they used to back in the 1800s. Well, we've evolved. We need to keep evolving, from those days. So, yes.
Well, that's great. Well, Randy, we do appreciate you coming in here doing this and taking the time. And again, we'll have you back in sometime maybe, and we'll do some fire safety. And
I would love to.
And we'll just talk a little bit about what keeps you safe. But right now, what keeps you safe is Chief Randy Walker and his crew. If you're living in the city of Bardstown, and we do appreciate all you're doing, appreciate everybody on your staff. I mean,
absolutely.
To me, they always, and I don't use these words lightly, but to me, there's certain people that I call heroes. And there's somebody that runs into trouble, into a fire, and now he's getting the call. That's all you to say. It's time to go. Thank you a lot. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Chief Randy Walker, the Bardstown Fire Department, here with us today. We appreciate him doing what he does. Appreciate all of the firefighters wherever you happen to be. There's our cue to take a break. We'll be right back right after this on Channel 6 TV.